Hello, and welcome to another episode of Get Your Fill, Financial Independence and Long Life, where we explore ways to achieve those two goals. And we invite folks on to help us who are talented and knowledgeable and who can get us started in ways that are going to create financial independence for us. So that's why I'm excited that Simon Ree is with us today. And I just want to make sure. Is that the right? Yeah, now I ask you. Is that the correct way to pronounce your name? Ree?
Simon Ree, yeah, that's
Great.
spot on. Yeah.
Maybe we can cut that out. That's why I'm so happy that Simon Ree is with us today. He has 30 years of experience trading in the financial markets. He has helped positions at Citibank and Goldman Sachs. But today, his mission is to share those skills and knowledge and the knowledge that he gained inside those Wall Street firms to help everyday people like us to grow their wealth more quickly or create a second income from the stock market, which sounds fun, doesn't it? He's revolutionizing the way finance is taught by shattering many long-held Wall Street myths that are holding people back in their financial goals. Simon, thanks for being with us today.
Oh, absolute pleasure, Christine. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I want to just acknowledge the fact that Simon is up way early to talk with us because he's on the other side of the world. We appreciate that.
Yeah, it's bright and early here in Singapore.
So, Simon, is this what made you sort of walk away from Wall Street and say, hey, you know what, there's a better way to do this, and I can help people and make this whole thing more palatable, and they don't have to feel like they have to be a multimillionaire before they can start investing in stocks?
Yeah, look, I guess I'd been through the global financial crisis. I'd seen some of the uglier sides of the culture that can exist in the finance industry, and I'd got to, midlife, in air quotes, and started asking myself those questions about, what am I doing with my life? What is my marginal contribution to society? And I didn't really like the answers I was coming up with, because what I was essentially doing was working with people who were already incredibly wealthy and effectively helping them stay that way or become even wealthier. And I thought, yeah, this isn't the mark that I want to leave. I don't want this to be my legacy. And I thought there's got to be something better I could be doing. And I ruminated on this for a while, but I realized that I'd developed a skill set throughout my my corporate life and my experience in the financial markets. And I just thought, well, how could I put that skill set to use in helping people who could, really benefit from what I've learned and what I've developed, rather than people who really have kind of already made it.
And that's very admirable, because I have a feeling, and I don't know this, I've never been in financial markets, but I have a feeling that, when people show up to your door and say, oh, I've got like $2,000 that I'd really like to invest, that you just don't, like, get out of my office, right? I mean, there's no encouragement for you to even talk to that person unless they're talking at least six figures to want to invest with you.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's largely true. The investment solutions available to people who don't have a lot of money saved up, they're just not great. The results that they deliver tend to be not that exciting, and they tend to be full of fees.
Yeah.
And so unless you're already wealthy, it's just hard to get on those first few rungs of that ladder to wealth and financial independence.
Absolutely. And how do you help people to sort of get, well, you talk about the myths of Wall Street. How do you sort of get people to how do you attract people, first of all? How do they finding you and understanding that you're going to make this whole thing more accessible to them? And then sort of how do you do that, which I know is kind of a big question.
Yeah, well, there's a lot to unpack there. How do people find me? I mean, this is the challenge of every small business owner, right? How do you let the world know you exist?
Yeah.
Well, I wrote a book, and it's a pretty good book, called The Tao of Trading. It's one of the most highly rated books on options trading on Amazon, actually. So that's been great. That's been a really useful way to, I guess, let people know I exist, put my stamp on the world, so to speak. And I'm pretty active on Twitter and LinkedIn, a couple of social media channels. So I guess people have found me mostly through those three channels. And in terms of how do I do it? Well, I've developed an online education company. So we deliver online education through videos that really just breaks it all down, revealing to people that finance isn't as difficult or as complex as Wall Street would want you to think it is. And that if you just apply some time and effort, you absolutely can do this by yourself. It's not get rich quick, all right, but it is get rich time efficiently, and it's certainly get rich more quickly than the traditional Wall Street method.
Yeah. Well, which is, as you said, it involves so many fees, and so much of your money that you think is growing for you is actually being eroded.
Well, the thing is, Wall Street wants to sell financial products that are scalable. They basically want to sell cookie cutter solutions to as many people as they can, retain those assets, charge a fee. They don't want to blow anyone up. Don't get me wrong, but they're not anxious if they're not beating the market every year.
Right.
And you'll hear things like, well, you couldn't possibly expect to earn more than 10% per annum, because you'd be taking too much risk if you tried to do that. And this is just a great myth of Wall Street, right? 10% per annum happens to be approximately the long-term annual average return of the S&P 500.
Yeah.
All right. So numbers like that are easy to pull out of the air. The thing is, if you've got $5,000, $10,000 saved up, 10% per annum, look, that can work if you've got a very long runway. All right. If you've got 30 or 40 years ahead of you and you just let it compound, yeah, it's great. If you've only got 10 or 15 years ahead of you, it's not going to move the needle. And again, if you've got 10 or 15 years ahead of you and you've only got $5,000 or $10,000, it's not going to be life-changing in any way, shape, or form. So
Right.
to sort of say, yeah, I'm going to rely on compound interest earning me 10% per annum or less, you need either a very long runway or you already need a very large pot of money for that to be a realistic solution for you.
Right. Definitely. And that's, I think, even 10%, because the fire people are saying 4%, right? You need to be able to live on 4% of your, only taking 4% of your assets, or 4% interest, planning on 4% interest, because of course the market, even though it's 10% average, right? It's not going up reliably 10% every single year. What if you need
Yeah.
money on a year when it happens to be down? Then you're
Yeah.
eroding your principal and you're kind of screwed. So
So
how,
you back solve for 4% a year, and you need a lot of money, even for a fairly frugal lifestyle.
yeah, that's for sure. I mean, I think I need like $5 million at least. And if you're
Right.
starting at 50, that's not going to be, it's a little hard to save up.
Yeah, and punting Bitcoin to the moon is probably not the way to do it.
No. So that's why people start getting speculative. Oh, I'll buy the next big thing, right? I want to find the next, whatever it may be, the next Tesla, the next Google, the next whatever that you could have got in on the ground floor and
Yeah.
exploded, the next Amazon. So how do you do it? How do you help people to get started? It's options trading.
It's options trading, and it's a very different philosophy from let's find the next Google or the next Amazon. What we're aiming for is just consistency of returns, consistency of attitude, consistency of performance, showing up every day, doing the work. It all sounds pretty boring, but when you start making 5% a month, the rewards come, and you can see why it's worth the effort.
Yeah.
So we trade options. Options sometimes get a bad rap from people like Warren Buffett, who's one of the world's biggest options traders. So things with people like Warren Buffett, do as he says, not as he does.
Right.
Um, but options they're actually the finance industry's greatest risk management tool, and they've got some really unique advantages. Options offer leverage. Leverage just means potential large return from a small outlay. Now,
Mm.
they're not unique in that regard. You can trade forex, you can trade futures. They offer leverage as well. The thing that options do that's unique to options is they have what's known as an asymmetric payoff. Now, that might sound complex, but asymmetric just means not symmetrical. One side is different from the other.
Right.
All right. And what we're talking about with options and their asymmetric payoff is that they offer uncapped upside, but with capped downside. So the leverage works in your favor, but it doesn't work against you the way it can in a futures contract or an FX contract. Your maximum downside is always known up front when you buy an option. And people have this idea that options are frightfully complicated and there's lots of complex math associated with them. And look, they can be, but it doesn't need to be fantastically complicated. There are only two kinds of options. There are call options and put options. All right. And we buy call options when we think a stock price is going to go up. Just think call up, as in call up your friend.
Mm-hmm.
And we buy put options when we think a stock price is going to go down. You just think put down. You're not going to put down your friend, as in put down your luggage or something like that.
Yeah.
And so from there, we can start building strategies around how to benefit from the leverage and the asymmetric payoff. One of the things that really differentiates options from buying stock is that options have got a finite life. They've got an expiration date. And so in my book, I talk about buying a call option as being similar to renting a stock. You might want to go on a holiday to Europe and maybe you rent a nice hotel in Paris, somewhere like that. I mean, chances are you can't afford to buy the hotel anyway, right? But you can rent it for a couple of weeks.
Right.
And it's the same with options. You may not be able to afford to buy 100 Tesla shares, but maybe you can afford to rent 100 shares for a month by buying a call option on them. Now, that means buying or renting those 100 Tesla shares. It's much, much, much cheaper. There's far less money required renting those shares for a month than buying them. But at the end of that month, the option disappears. All right. So you've only got a small amount of time to make the money. All right. So you can't just go in there and buy options without a really strong strategy. And what we really teach people how to do in the Tower of Trading is identify those high probability moments in time to enter trades, to get exposure to the market, to take risk. And that's really key. You need to develop that skill of how to identify high probability moments of time. The sort of the old-fashioned Wall Street way of investing is that they use slogans like it's time in the market, not timing the market.
Right.
And that's, again, it's because they want you to keep your money invested with them, so they get to charge fees over it.
Yeah.
To me, that doesn't make any sense. Markets go up, markets go down. Holding through that thick or thin, yeah, I mean, it's fine if you just want to shut your eyes and outsource that to somebody else and not have any involvement. But if you are prepared to invest in yourself and invest some time in learning these skills, yeah, you can absolutely identify high probability moments when stocks are likely to rise and stocks are likely to fall.
So let's just back up really quickly, just for people who might not be familiar with the way an option works, and just sort of explain how you use leverage for that and what basically you're getting when you buy an option.
Yeah. So let's work with call options, because that's sort of what we've been talking about. We'll talk about put options in a minute. So when you buy a call option, what you're buying is it's the right to buy stock at a certain price. So you picture two men having a chat at a barbecue. All right. And one guy says, look, I've got these 100 Apple shares, and if you pay me $5, I'm going to give you the option, the right to buy these Apple shares off me at $100 a share. And the other guy says, well, that sounds pretty good. So what happens if Apple rises to $120? So, well, that's fine. You still get to buy the Apple shares off me at $100 and you make $20. It says, well, hang on. What if Apple shares drop to $80? It says, well, then you wouldn't buy the Apple shares off me at $100, would you? And all that happens is you lose the $5 that you paid me for the option. But that $5 you lost paying me for the option is less than the $20 you would have lost buying Apple at $100 a share. All right. And so this is essentially what's going on in the options market. You are getting the right to buy stock at a price within a specific period of time. And if the price rises during that time, you can make money
And you
and you
don't
can make really good returns.
and do you make money by actually buying the stock and selling it, or you make money by just giving someone else that option by selling it?
Yeah, we never buy the option, the stock. We just make money trading the option. That's right.
Right. And
So
then,
it doesn't take a huge amount of capital.
right. So let's say that, in the example I could use. So I've gotten at least options to buy Apple stock at $100. Is that 120? How do I go about letting people know? Is there like a market, like the stock market, where
Yeah. Yeah,
trade?
it's just like a stock market. So you need to open an options brokerage account, and you can do that with Charles Schwab or TD Ameritrade or any of those guys. And yeah, trading options is similar to trading stock. You just need an options account to do it. But yeah, there's buy quotes and sell quotes, and it's a fairly simple process.
And
And
someone
it's
might be willing to pay, like, more in that scenario, right? Somebody else is going to buy it because they actually want to buy the Apple stock, right? Would that be
well
accurate?
we're kind of getting into the nitty gritty of how markets operate now. But with options markets, there are market makers who will make a market for both buyers and sellers. And so long as you stick to large cap liquid stocks, the markets, the options markets are very liquid. Transacting in them is not a problem.
Okay, good. So it's not like you don't get slapping the rates there with this option that the only way you could make money on it would be to actually buy and sell the stock.
No, that's not necessary. And options on stocks in the US, that they are traded on regulated exchanges. It's not like you're trading, crypto or FX on it's not done off market. It's all very, very above board on regulated, tightly regulated exchanges.
And how do you go about? So I know that at the same time that you might be buying call for Apple, someone else is probably buying put for Apple, right? That everybody, it's all just how do you decide what the stock? How do you help people to understand what the stock could possibly do, what it's likely to do, or why they would decide that this is a good time to buy one or the other?
Well, we teach them trading setups, and trading setups are really important because here's an example. If you watch somebody, they take a bucket of water and they throw the water out of that bucket, and you watch as you watch that water flying out of the bucket, as a human being, you have got a very good intuition about the Newtonian path that water will take as it flies out of the bucket and lands on the floor.
Right.
If I show you a stock chart, you've got no intuition about where that price is going to go in the future. You might think you do, but you don't. And I'm not picking on you, Christine. This applies to everybody. Okay, so having trading setups is really important. I'm a trend follower at heart, because trend following it's got 200 years of data and analysis backing it up. It's by far the most researched, the most studied form of investment trading. And the beauty with trend following is it can be made to be very visual. It can be made to become intuitive. And if you're wrong, you generally know pretty quickly. So we teach counter trend setups as well, but trend following is a core part of our philosophy. And it's all about, being able to identify a strong trend, and then being able to identify those high probability moments in time to join the trend, and then also to be able to identify when you're wrong and when you need to get out. All right, because risk management is absolutely crucial in trading. There's a reason why this business is called trading and not guaranteed profits. All right, it's because there will be losses along the way, and it's just a case of managing those losses, minimizing them, and not getting emotional about them. All right, losses when you're trading are just a business expense. You should feel as emotional about taking a loss as you would about buying paper for your printer. All right. It's just an operating expense. Now, like any good business, we want to minimize our expenses, but we've got to be realistic. We're not going to completely eradicate them.
And how much would a person realistically need if they wanted to get started in actually, making that would make sense for them to get started with option trading?
It's a good question. I recommend people start with around $5,000, okay? Because $5,000 is enough to allow you to have more than one or two positions on at a time, have a little bit of diversity in your trading book. It's enough money for you to be able to make a couple of mistakes and still be able to come back from that. I mean, I've had people start with I've had people start with a lot less. But I don't necessarily recommend it, because if you start with $1,000 and your first couple of trades are losers, that can be quite demoralizing.
Right.
So $5,000 I think is a good starting number. But yeah, people can and do start with less. I just don't recommend it.
So they'd sign up for your course, and how long does it take before you think they're ready to be unleashed on the market?
So, I mean, the course has got, let me think, there's about 25 hours worth of instruction in there,
Wow.
split up over 60 videos. So it's all kind of fairly bite-sized learning chunks. I've had people go through the course in a weekend. But they're the exception rather than the rule. Most people would take a few weeks to go through it all, digest it.
Yeah.
And then I say, once you've completed the learning, your first 100 trades, that's really your apprenticeship. I reckon it takes the average person 100 trades to, get through making a few mistakes, learn what it's like to be a trader, kind of get to grips with the process and the emotional swings, the emotional ups and downs. And once you've done your first 100 trades, and that could take weeks or months, probably months for most people, you kind of through your apprenticeship. All right. And now you kind of, you know enough to be dangerous. Hopefully not to yourself. But if you follow our teaching principles and our guidelines, it's basically impossible to blow your account up. And if all you do for your first few months is focus on not losing money, becoming profitable almost becomes inevitable after a period of time.
That's nice to hear. But
it's a really important mental shift. People get into trading thinking, and they get into trading because they want to make money, all right? All they're thinking about is, how much money I'm going to make on this trade, and they start adding up the returns before they've even booked the profits. I think that's a really dangerous psychological road to go down. And what I say to people, and this is something that I do as well, don't think of yourself as a trader. Think of yourself as a risk manager, and talk to yourself, even in your self-talk. All right. Think I'm a risk manager first and foremost. And whenever you assess a trade, it's not about how much you can win. But am I prepared to lose this amount of money if it goes wrong?
Yeah.
Paul Tudor Jones, he's a doyen of the hedge fund industry. He's got some great quotes, and he says he wakes up every morning and he assumes that all of his positions are wrong until the market proves otherwise. And I think that's a really good mentality to have.
Well, in the name of your book, your business, the Tao Trading, I think that seems like a fantastic name to me, because it's about sort of being zen and not flipping out and not thinking that, right? I mean, what was your intention in choosing that name?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So in addition to being a trader, I'm also a Jeet Kune Do instructor. Jeet Kune Do is the martial art that Bruce Lee developed. And Bruce Lee wrote this wonderful book called The Tao of Jeet Kune Do. And so the Tao of Trading, it's like an homage to Bruce Lee, who's been a great mentor to me throughout my life.
Oh, that's lovely.
But it's also look, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of books out there on options trading. Why did I write my book? Why did the world need yet another book on options trading, right? and this was why I wrote the book. There are hundreds of books out there on options trading. I've read a good few of them. I had to, as part of my internship in my career. But I can tell you that most of them are both difficult and boring. All right. The sorts of books you would only finish if you had a boss that was making you read them. So I thought the world needed a book on options trading that was both simple and engaging. And that was why I wrote The Tao of Trading. And based on the feedback I've got from the book, I think I ticked those two boxes. And yeah, the Tao meaning the way. So it's not a book just loaded full of setup after setup. It really talks about everything you need to make yourself a success in this game, from psychology and mindset to risk management to consistency to how to actually put it into place and make it happen.
Yeah, that's fun. It's fun. I love that you're sort of taken on this mission to bring something that options trading is something that I think most people would say, wow, that's like way over my head. That's not something that it's so risky. I would never want to do that. And yet they're willing to give money to their financial planner to charge them $125 a year to manage, or whatever the case may be, right? Some amount of fees that are going to make it's going to take them a lot of time to recover from.
Yeah. Trading options it's risky in the same way that driving a car is risky. All right. If you jump into a car having never taken a lesson, you're probably going to have an accident. And the same is true if you open an options brokerage account without first learning how to trade, you're probably going to have an accident. The thing is, in order to drive a car, we make you learn and we make you take a test. Nobody makes you learn and nobody makes you take a test before you open an options trading account. That's something you've,
right?
Yeah, right.
Like
That's something you've got to be responsible for yourself.
Right. You get real lucky or not, right?
Yeah.
Excellent. So what kind of things light you up, Simon? What kinds of things in your day, in your life, are really particularly important?
I mean, professionally, I've always found that when you see the light bulb light up in somebody's head, when you see the penny drop and they get the aha moment, I've always found that one of the most rewarding times and experiences. And I love teaching. This is something that I guess, discovered about myself over the years. It's why I became a martial arts instructor initially. I just love sharing and imparting knowledge. And whenever I learn something new, I took up kite surfing a few years ago. I'm a terrible kite surfer. I've got no business teaching anyone how to kite surf. But even when I was learning, I found myself thinking, how would I explain this to somebody else? How would I teach somebody else to do what I'm learning to do? And it's something that I've always enjoyed, that teaching aspect. So building this online education company, I think, was a fairly natural fit for me, and it meshes obviously well with my skill set. Other than that, I've got 4 kids, ranging from 18 to 2, so that keeps me busy. Kids, family, keeping fit.
Fun.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Wonderful play. Wonderful. I'm intrigued by this whole thing. I mean, I would have said before, like, oh, options trading. Oh, I can't. I don't want to learn about that. Blow my brain up. But you made it all seem very doable. I mean, I do have a stock account, and I used to have a reputation, at least with myself, for always forcing companies out of business by buying the stock. One share, and it would almost immediately start to go down. So, but now I found out that was not just bad luck; it was because I just didn't have a clue what I was doing. So,
and nobody does until they learn.
Right.
And then the other difficult thing about trading is, like, if you want to learn how to fly an aircraft, you want to learn how to fly a Boeing 737. All right, there is one source of truth. All right, you go to the Boeing instruction manual, and that teaches you what to do.
Right.
If you want to learn how to trade, I mean, there are millions of YouTube videos you can watch for free, and they're probably worth, most of them, exactly what you pay for them. But there are, it's kind of a case of who do I turn to? There are
Right.
so many people out there. There's a lot of trading courses. Some of them are very good. A lot of them are crap. And so it's just being able to sift through who you can trust, who you find credible, and who's going to teach you in a way that's going to deliver results for you.
Yeah.
So what I say to people is, buy my book. It's $8.99 on Amazon. It's almost a try before you buy. And if you like that and you want to take it further, come and find me.
So how can people find you, Simon? What's the best way for them to connect with you and take your course?
So I'm most active on Twitter. So you can follow me on Twitter. My handle is Simon_Ree, REE. My website is toweroftrading.com. And what I've done, Christine, I've prepared a special welcome page for your listeners.
Thank
If
you.
they head over to Tower of Trading, that's TAOOFTRADING.com/FILL. They can download the first chapter of my book for free, and they can get some discounts on some of our programs.
That's fantastic. And I urge you, listeners, to take advantage of this, because what the heck, what the heck? What have you got to lose? And this could be life changing legitimately, this could be life changing for you, for your family. Simon, what have I not asked you that you wish I would have asked, so that you could tell us something that I didn't think about?
Why, if trading's so easy, why isn't everybody doing it? Trading is simple, but it isn't easy. All right. It requires commitment and it requires time. All right. So if you can't put in that 20 to 30 minutes a day, every day, and show up consistently, consistency is a superpower in life, and especially in trading. Most people just don't have that ability to kind of do the learning, be consistent, and apply what they've learned in a consistent manner. All right. But what I say to people, if you're going to get into trading, get very crystal clear on your why are you doing this? And the answer is never more money. All right. It's more time, it's more freedom, it's escaping a job with a boss you hate. It's wanting to send your kids to a better education. It's wanting family holidays. But get very clear on what your why is, and that will help you stick through the ups and downs. And then there will be ups and downs. And like I said, that consistency, that showing up every day is the main reason why most people aren't successful trading. It's why most people don't have the body that they want, or the level of health and fitness that they want. It's because we're always looking for the easy solution, or the comfortable solution.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Of all the people who I've interviewed who have succeeded at anything, the one overarching word that I would use for all of them is persistence, because they ran into the same sort of problem. I mean, so I don't know that I've talked to anybody who said, "Oh yeah, and then I just started it and I was successful and everything went great." Right? There's always been some time when they've failed, and 97% of the people who reached that point said, "Well, this is not for me." And that it's that small percentage of people who said, "Okay, well, that was a great learning experience," right? And just kept going and stuck with it, that are the ones who ultimately succeed. So
That's so
pick
true.
something, keep doing it.
The really good stuff in life is on the other side of hard, as they say.
Yes, exactly.
Now,
Excellent.
learning to trade, learning to become financially independent, it's hard. But being broke is also hard. So, choose your hard.
Absolutely. Oops. Oh my God. Okay. Well, Simon, thank you so much for being with us. I've loved talking with you, and I feel like you've opened a new avenue for me to think about in my quest for that lifestyle of always having enough money to have lots of fun.
Fantastic. It's been a real pleasure, Christine. Been a
And
pleasure being on your show.
oh, I loved it. Thank you. And thank you, listener, for listening. And I want you to share this with two people. I want you to share Simon's episode with two people who you think are intelligent and brave enough to try options trading, and to give Simon's book a read, and to give this episode a listen. And they will thank you, I promise. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you.